What if the most effective propaganda wasn't on a poster or on some state-run media, but in the songs that you sang as a kid, or the history classes that you sat through, or the pledges that you recited before you could even spell it? I went through all of those things, and then I moved to Europe and realized that I had a different perspective than a lot of people because I was in it at one point and now I'm not, and I can see it from the outside. So this video is going to be interesting. It's called Why the Rest of the World Thinks Americans Are Brainwashed. And it's by Holy Koolaid. Oh God. All that sounds like just a lot of, I don't know. It's like a hot mess. But it's going to be interesting. I will have a link down below so you can go over and check him out. That would be great. I'm sure he would appreciate it. All right, here we go. Get ready for your comments because I know they're coming. And it's okay. I'm going to have some comments too. You better believe that. Before we get going here, go ahead and like the video. That really helps a lot. Let's see what we can see.
There is some wild propaganda that Americans are taught and don't even realize it's propaganda. Now, I should preface this by stating that I am an American. I love my country. My family goes all the way back to Jamestown. My grandfather fought in World War II. I was born in Los Angeles. I went to university in Texas. I was raised singing the Star-Spangled Banner and reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I am about as American as it gets. Well, besides these things. But I've also spent the last decade studying cults, dogma, and religious extremism, and thought control. And as...
Oh, God. Cults, dogma, something, and thought control. Oh, religious extremism and thought control. Ooh. That sounds like 4 things that are pretty prevalent over there in the United States. It's going to be interesting. He studied those things. Can't wait to hear what he has to say.
Someone who has lived in over a dozen countries and traveled to more than 35 of them, I've started noticing some extremely troubling forms of propaganda that Americans are taught from childhood. Things that people in free, developed, democratic countries overseas find absolutely bizarre, and things that most Americans never question, because we've been marinating in it since birth. And look, every country has its own brand of propaganda. I'm not trying to pretend that America is uniquely evil here, but what makes American propaganda...
That's true. Every country has its own some sort of propaganda, but I didn't live in every other country, and neither do other Americans. So, I mean, we can't speak to that, but we can speak to the United States of America.
Brand of propaganda. I'm not trying to pretend that America is uniquely evil here, but what makes American propaganda so effective is that most of us don't even realize it exists. We think that propaganda is something that happens in North Korea or Soviet bases, posters of dictators and state-controlled media. We don't recognize it when it's sung at football games and printed on a bumper sticker. So here are 7 forms of propaganda that you probably didn't even realize that you grew up with if you're an American.
Oh God, this is where I would like give my list. But I'm just going to go through and kind of chime in on the 7 that he gives and see if there has to be some that I would say are propaganda. So probably all 7 of them. That's a cool intro. Oh, wow. I like that.
Number 1, US-centric education. American history is extraordinarily short. We are talking a few centuries compared to civilizations that span millennia. And yet, if you grew up in an American public school, you would think that the United States was the center of human history. Geography classes...
That's true. And you know, I do get a lot of this on this channel. My wife and I have another channel, and we get a lot of people who don't understand how U.S. Citizens don't know so much about history. I mean, this channel was strongly German before, and so many German people on this channel were like, I don't get it. How do you not know exactly when the wall fell, how it fell, the time of day, these things? It's like, we learn, like he said, US-centric history. Damn, it's crazy.
public school, you would think that the United States was the center of human history. Geography classes often aren't taught at all, and world history courses, when they are taught, are basically how does the rest of the planet relate to America. The Vietnam War is taught as a war for freedom. Westward expansion is framed as brave pioneers taming a wild frontier, not as the systematic displacement and genocide of indigenous peoples who've been living there for thousands of years. World War II, Americans swoop in and save the day, with little mention of the roughly 27 million Soviets who died on the Eastern Front doing the bulk of the fighting against Hitler. Now,
and that's interesting. All right, I do need to let it play a little bit, but hey, I'm just reacting, so, you know, calm down. But that's interesting what he's saying is that we're not, it's like happening right now. They are like systematically trying to erase even the U.S. history in a lot of ways because it makes America look bad. They don't want that. So they don't want you to know how many people died in a certain war, that we lost the Vietnam War. I mean, I'm just saying in general, it's not something that's talked about often because we lost.
compare that to how other countries teach history. In much of Europe, kids actually learn global history. They study African kingdoms, Asian dynasties, Middle Eastern contributions to science and mathematics. They learn about colonialism for what it actually is, not heroic adventure, but exploitation. When I talk to Americans who are traveling abroad for the first time, I'm often shocked at how little they know about the rest of the world. And that's not by accident. A nation which doesn't teach its citizens about the world produces citizens who don't question their own nation's role in it. Number 2, the Cold War binary. If you grew up in America anytime after 1950, you absorbed one of the most effective propaganda frameworks ever constructed. Communism equals evil, capitalism equals freedom. Full stop. No new.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, man. It's like, damn. That's true. What he said is true. That, I mean, they, even in the United States right now, they paint certain parties as communist. And the other party is the party of freedom. Okay.
Wants no discussion, just a clean binary where one side wears white hats and the other side is a cartoon villain. What they don't teach you is that during the Cold War, the United States overthrew democratically elected governments around the world simply because the governments leaned left. In 1953, the CIA helped orchestrate a coup against Iran's democratically elected Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh, because he nationalized Iran's oil industry. In 1954, the US toppled Guatemala's president, Arbenz, because his land reforms threatened the profits of United Fruit Company. In 1973, the CIA backed the overthrow of Chile's Salvador Allende, a democratically elected socialist, and replaced him with Augusto Pinochet, a brutal military dictator who tortured and murdered thousands. The Congo, Brazil, Indonesia, it's all the same playbook. America.
Same playbook that's happening right now. So, I mean, it doesn't take much to look and see where and who it's happening with.
Claim to be defending democracy while systematically destroying it in order to exploit country after country. This all is recent history. And this
Sorry, I keep pausing, but I'm like getting like heat flashes and like the body's tightening up. It's just like, so, I don't know, man. It's like frustrating and sad and all of that you just don't know what you're not being taught, and you don't know, like, you kind of just have to trust what you're being taught when you're a little kid, because how the hell are you supposed to know? And then, life happens, you get going. It's not like, once you have a job working 60, 70 hours a week, it's not like you can go take a history class. I know people say you can read books and all that, and which is true. But as a whole, people don't do that. Just read history books. And a lot of the learning that you did, like he said, it happened when you were younger. So I don't know. I know, I mean, I get a lot of heat on this channel because obviously when you have a reaction channel like this, I mean, you got to kind of be open. At least that's the way I look at it. And I ask a lot of questions, and sometimes those questions make people be like, what the hell's wrong with you? How could you not know this? I mean, I get those comments all the time. Sometimes it's a little ridiculous, to be honest, but I understand because they grew up learning all this stuff and knowing all this stuff like the back of their hand. So
Binary thinking is still alive and well. If you suggest universal healthcare in America, watch how quickly someone calls you a communist.
Yeah,
Propose free
100%.
public university education, something that dozens of thriving democracies already provide,
Communist.
and suddenly you're a Marxist. The
Yeah.
Cold War ended over 30 years ago, but the propaganda framework it built is still alive and kicking. If you want to start breaking free from propaganda, one of the most effective and powerful things that you can do is to expose yourself to other cultures, other perspectives, and other languages. My dad was a language teacher, and I grew up multilingual, and I can tell you firsthand that learning another language doesn't just teach you new words, it gives you an entirely different lens through which to view the world, which is
This is true. Like even Christmas. Like in the United States, the only thing you know about Christmas is it was Jesus's birthday, and it was on December 25th, and you got a bunch of gifts. That was Christmas. And you didn't have any idea. Like when I came here to Spain and found out that, on Christmas they really just give like one gift because, a lot of the kids got used to Americans getting gifts or something like that. But really their gifts are on like January 6th. And I told my family that, and they were like, "What? Why?" Some of them are older than me, and they just don't have any idea about things that happen in the world. Like, so what he's saying is you learn the language, you learn the culture, and that is true. And there are a lot of things here that, of course we have to learn the language, but learning the culture too comes along with it. So.
Number 3, the land of the free myth. Americans are told from birth that the United States is the freest country on earth. It's in the songs, it's on the bumper stickers. It's baked into the nation's identity so deeply that questioning it feels almost heretical. But is it true? Well, let's look at the data. On the Reporters Without Borders Press Freedom Index, the US doesn't crack the top 50. It ranks 57th in the world, just below Sierra Leone. On the Cato...
Whoa, what? Hold up. According to the Reporters Without Borders, wait. See? This is what happens. First of all, I didn't even know there was an entity that measured these things. Definitely did not know that the United States was 57 on the freedom list or whatever this is. Hold on.
On the Reporters Without Borders Press Freedom Index, the US doesn't crack the top 50. It ranks 57th in the world,
Oh my God.
just below Sierra Leone. On the Cato Institute's Human Freedom Index, and keep in mind, the Cato Institute is a libertarian think tank, not some leftist outfit, multiple countries outrank America in both personal and economic freedom.
Okay, hold on. We gotta see that again.
Multiple countries.
Look at the Switzerland, Denmark, New Zealand, Ireland, Luxembourg, all in Europe except Australia, Canada, Sweden, Taiwan. Wow. Isn't that crazy? I guarantee you, anybody, well, most of the people I know, if I ask them, they're going to tell me that the U.S. is number one. I'm going to test it. I'm going to test it after this video. I'm going to call some people in my family and see what they have to say. This is unbelievable.
Countries outrank America in both personal and economic freedom. The United States incarcerates more people per capita than almost every other country on the planet. More than China, more than Russia, Iran, or North Korea. The land of the free locks up more of its own citizens than almost every authoritarian regime on earth. And a disproportionate number of them are Black and Latino. This is not what freedom looks like. It is a system designed to warehouse people. But it goes deeper. A handful of corporations control vast swaths of American industry, from media to agriculture to healthcare and tech. These corporations aren't just influencing a little bit of government policy, they're writing the policy.
Some of them have seats at the table when the policy is being written. Excuse me, when the policy is being written. Oh man.
Politicians,
I don't know if I'm gonna make it through this video.
respond to donors and lobbyists, not constituents.
Yeah,
Hell, there was a Princeton study which actually found that the preferences of American voters have a near zero statistical impact on whether a policy gets passed or not. But the preferences of economic elites, big businesses, and organized interest groups are strongly correlated with what policies actually get passed into law. In other words, your politicians don't care what you want, unless you're a billionaire. Elections are largely bought and paid for. Gerrymandering carves up districts so that the
Here we go. This is crazy. This just happened in Tennessee, where I think they had one Democratic, like, district, I guess you could say, and they did a little bit of gerrymandering. Now they have 0. So, yeah, it's crazy.
politicians can choose their voters rather than the other way around, like it should be in a free democracy. Voter suppression laws target communities least likely to vote for the people in power, and the two-party system has become a self-reinforcing trap that incentivizes extremism over representation. We are taught, and this is hardcore propaganda, that America's electoral system is the best. Well, except when our guy loses, of course. But there is a much better electoral system. It is called ranked choice voting, and the only
Okay. We are taught that. Well, we're taught that we're the best at everything, okay? So, including voting, whatever, you name it, we're the best. Hamburgers, I don't know, pick something. Probably even something that was developed in your country. We're better than you in the United States, okay? So, oh, God, I'm telling you. All right, let me just relax. I'm not going to relax, but I'm just saying that so I could breathe, okay?
people who prefer our current system over ranked choice are those who are financially incentivized against freedom and democracy. Here's how it works. With ranked choice, instead of picking just one candidate and hoping for the best, you rank out your preferences with your top choice at the top and your least choice at the bottom. If no one wins a majority, the candidate with the fewest votes gets eliminated, and the people who voted for them have those votes redistributed to their second choice. You keep going until someone actually has majority support. It rewards candidates who appeal broadly rather than those who energize the extremes. It reduces what's known as the spoiler effect and creates a better reflection of what voters actually want. There are already several US cities and states which have already adopted ranked choice voting, and it's the norm in countries like Australia and Ireland. But most Americans have never even heard of it.
I've never heard of it. Australia and Ireland are doing it. I think that makes sense. Oh, man.
Because the two parties currently in power have zero incentive to tell you about the system that would threaten their grip, and they have every incentive to criticize it.
You should run aggressively against ranked choice voting. It is a big...
Number 4, America's stupidly big military budget. The US spends more on its military than the next 10 countries combined. Let that sink in. More than China, Russia, the UK, Saudi Arabia, Germany, France, Japan, South Korea, and Australia put together. Now, Americans are taught that this spending is about protecting freedom and defending the free world. And sure, a reasonable national defense is necessary. But the vast majority of this budget doesn't go to defense. It funds over 750 military bases in at least 80 countries. It funds interventions.
What? Damn. I didn't know that. But I mean, it makes sense, but I didn't know that. I don't effing know.
150
I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to hear all this because you just feel like, like you've been duped. Like you just didn't even see all this, and you almost feel like, how did I not know this? I don't know. You just never had, the like incentive, or maybe that's not the right word. Like just the purpose or something that drove you to just realize what you were in. Because once you get going, you start living. Like that's what happens. You get married. You have kids. The kids got to go to school. You got to go to work. Yeah, it's like you just have all these things where you just are living, and you don't have time or any desire at all to learn about the world and all these things. I know I'm gonna take some heat on that, but I don't know. I mean, that's kind of what I would say happens. I don't know any of my friends that tell me that they go and read a history book every morning for a half hour or or look at world news. A lot of people do now because of what's going on over there, but that was not something that happened before.
Military bases in at least 80 countries. It funds interventions, regime changes, drone programs, and the maintenance of a global military empire. Meanwhile, American roads are crumbling. Bridges are collapsing. The healthcare system bankrupts families. Teachers buy their own classroom supplies.
Yes, they do. Does that not happen in other countries? I mean, does it? Wow. It probably doesn't. But I'm just thinking, it happens. Teachers don't make enough money as it is because sometimes the students drive teachers crazy and they still have to use their own money to buy school supplies.
Student debt has surpassed 1.7 trillion, and millions of Americans can't afford basic prescriptions. Other countries, meanwhile, invest their resources differently. Universal health care, free or affordable higher education, robust public transit, paid parental leave, affordable child care, and as a result, their citizens are measurably healthier, better educated, less stressed, and by many metrics, happier. This isn't speculative, it's what the data consistently shows. Historians have a term for what happens when an empire pours its resources into military expansion while its domestic foundations rot. Imperial overstretch. And it's how empires collapse. The Romans did it, the British did it, the Soviets did it, and if you look at the trajectory, America is running headfirst over the same cliff. Number 5, the Pledge of Allegiance.
We are only on number 5? This one is a doozy right here. The Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, God. Okay.
Having children stand up every single morning, place their hands over their heart, face a flag, and recite a loyalty oath in unison is, by any outside standard, one of the creepiest things about America. I'm not saying this to be edgy. When you describe this practice to people from other democracies, their jaws hit the floor. They associate it with the kind of thing that you would see authoritarian regimes do, not in a country that calls itself the leader of the free world. Because think about what the pledge actually is. It is a feudal fealty oath. It is a declaration of personal loyalty to a state. Now, I understand why elected officials and military personnel swear oaths of service. That makes sense. They're accepting a position of public responsibility. But requiring a 6-year-old to pledge allegiance to a flag before they can even spell allegiance, it's brainwashing.
It is.
Like, you realize the founding fathers would be...
It goes, in case you don't know, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I haven't said that in God knows how long, but it was in my head. But yeah, I'm not making this up. It was just like 2 weeks ago where I was talking to my wife and I was like, wait a minute. It's called the Pledge of Allegiance. Like, you're pledging your allegiance to something, the country, the flag, whatever. And then the words that are in it. Oh, God. One nation under God. I mean, who's God? Which God? I don't know. I know my mother's probably watching this. She's probably losing her mind. I'm probably going to get a call after she sees this.
Horrified by this, right?
Yes. Rewind.
Like, you realize the founding fathers would be horrified by this, right? These were...
Hold on. Sorry, this is all over the place. I'm probably getting some mad people, but let me just go back right here.
Before they can even spell allegiance, it's brainwashing.
Yes.
Like, you realize the founding fathers would be horrified by this, right? These were men who literally threw off the yoke of another red, white, and blue flag when it represented tyranny. They understood and wrote extensively about the fact that it is the duty of every free person to question authority and resist tyranny, not just pledge blind loyalty to a piece of cloth. The entire American experiment was built on the idea that governments derive their power from the consent of the governed, and that when a government fails its people, those people have the right and the obligation to challenge it. This is the entire reasoning behind the Second Amendment. Creating mindless, loyal zombies out of children is the exact opposite of what the founders fought for. And yet,
he's probably not going to say this, but I'm going off of what he just said. And yet, it is happening right now. Like, you have to be, like, I honestly have said before that, I don't know, somebody might see this channel and I could have some splaining to do, as Ricky said from the Lucille Ball show, whatever the name of that show was. I don't know. But I probably might have some splaining to do because of some of the things that I'm saying. So, yeah.
Mindless, loyal zombies out of
Mindless,
children
loyal
is the
zombies.
exact opposite of what the founders fought for. And yet suggest that we stop doing this in our children's schools and watch how fast you get called un-American.
Yeah.
Number 6, the myth that America was founded as a Christian nation. If you've
Oh, God. Here's another one. Yeah, this is what they believe, because, you know, the dollar bill, whatever it says, in God we trust, one nation under God. Like I just said in the Pledge of Allegiance, there's all these things that makes you think that the country was founded as a Christian nation. I mean, like, I really think that right now. So let's see what he says, because he's basically saying that it's a myth.
ever driven through the American South, or honestly, large parts of the Midwest and rural America, you've probably seen billboards saying things like, hell is real, abortion is murder, and Jesus saves. They line the highways like wallpaper, so pervasive that most people stop noticing them. Religious messaging in America is so saturated into the culture that it becomes invisible, which is exactly what makes it so effective. But here's what a lot of Americans don't know. The United States was never a Christian nation. The founders were explicit about this. The Constitution makes zero mention of Christianity or Jesus. The First Amendment enshrines the separation of church and state. The Treaty of Tripoli, unanimously ratified by the Senate in 1797 and signed by President John Adams, states in very plain language that the government of the United States is not, in any sense, founded on the Christian religion. That is not my interpretation. That is a legally binding document from the founding generation. So, where did
but what they would do is they will find a way to insinuate that based on what is said in the Constitution. So, I don't know if it's like because some of the stuff that's in the Constitution is very Christian-like, so therefore it was founded as a Christian nation. I don't know. This is real. This is how I grew up thinking. I mean, I remember like when I was probably 8 or 9 or something, and I remember like thinking that like I was going to go to bed and I was going to wake up, my whole family's going to be gone because of the rapture, and I was going to be left behind or something like that. So I don't know. It's just wild.
That is a legally binding document from the founding generation. So, where did the Christian nation myth come from? Well, in keeping with the rest of this video, propaganda. Cold War propaganda, to be specific. Under God was added to the Pledge of Allegiance in 1954. In God We Trust was added to the paper currency in 1957. And adopted as the national motto the year before. Our original motto, E Pluribus Unum, is more about plurality. Out of many, one. Both of these actions were deliberate moves to contrast the United States against godless communism. They weren't ancient traditions passed down by the founders. They're marketing decisions which were made by politicians in the 1950s. And now, barely 70 years later, millions of Americans will swear on a stack of Bibles that this country was founded as a Christian nation, and that anyone who says otherwise is attacking their heritage.
And they're communists. Anybody who disagrees with that, you are a communist. Sorry. You just are. Obviously, I don't believe these things. Sometimes I got to throw in there that I'm being sarcastic because people might think that that's what I believe. But no.
Country was founded as a Christian nation, and that anyone who says otherwise is attacking their heritage. The conflation of patriotism with Christianity is itself a product of propaganda, and it's one of the most dangerous because it means that questioning religion in America isn't just seen as blasphemy, it's treason. Number 7, American exceptionalism. This one is huge. The one that ties all the rest of it together. American exceptionalism isn't just this belief that America is different. It's a belief that America is inherently superior, better, divinely favored, the greatest country that God ever put on this earth. And it functions not just as a belief, but as a social enforcement mechanism.
And there's people right now today who will say that the United States, first of all, is better at everything, and it is the greatest country in the history of the world. In everything, I don't care. Pick something. The United States is better than your country at anything. School, science. I don't know. Pick something. That's what they believe. That's what they believe. It's just crazy. And it's like because of what they've been taught, then it's like they can't believe anything else. Like, how can you?
Earth. And it functions not just as a belief, but as a social enforcement mechanism. Because in America, criticism of the country is treated as betrayal. Point out that other nations have better healthcare outcomes, and you're told, well, why don't you just move there? Suggest that the military budget is bloated, and it is bloated, and suddenly you hate our troops. If you point out that Americans rank poorly on education, press freedom, or infant mortality compared to other developed countries, and you're suddenly ungrateful. Even liberals and progressives who critique America specifically because they want to improve it get branded as unpatriotic. Do you see how backwards that is? The messaging is clear.
Yes, 100%. And a lot of times it's because their idea of improving is different and not realistic, or I don't know. Their idea of improving is different than yours. Like my idea of improving would be to have better gun laws that can provide more safety in the country, or more peace of mind as it relates to guns. Healthcare for people that, can't afford it, that need life or death medicines and things like that. That would be great. I mean, there's a whole bunch of other things that I think would be, improve the educational system, all these things. But there's a whole bunch of other people who think that those things are not what's important. And if you do those things, you're going to do it through the government, and the government is involved in your life, and you don't want them involved in your life. So there.
You can love America or you can criticize it. You can't do both.
Yeah.
But in most healthy democracies, critique is understood as a form of patriotism. Wanting your country to live up to its own ideals isn't betrayal. It is the highest form of civic engagement.
Yes.
The pressure to never question America, to treat any criticism as an attack, to reflexively defend the status quo no matter how messed up it is because admitting a problem feels like admitting defeat. That social pressure is itself one of the most effective forms of propaganda there is. Because it doesn't require a government agency or state-run media outlets. It's enforced by your neighbors and your coworkers, your family, and your own internalized guilt. Like I said at the beginning, I don't hate America. I want it to be better. And if that makes me un-American in your eyes, then, well, I think I kind of proved my point.
Yeah,
it is the civic duty of every citizen to question what we've been taught, to explore outside the bubble, whether that's through reading, traveling, or learning other languages, and exposing ourselves to the perspectives that challenge our own assumptions. It's our duty to push back against propaganda and to exercise the very First Amendment rights that we claim to value. Because things don't have to be like this. They can be better. But we have to first recognize the propaganda and be honest with ourselves in order to get there. If you guys enjoyed this video, please smash that like button.
Oh man, that's crazy. I mean, it's weird. You're in a tough spot because there's a lot of people will be like, hey, why didn't you just stick around and fight? Why are you leaving? What you're doing is just, doesn't help anything. You're abandoning your country. That's what people believe. And I will say that I have always been someone who, I remember being like 16 years old in high school and protesting, leading a walkout of class, or the whole school walked out of class, because I said, I think that it's not right that the state of Arizona isn't celebrating Martin Luther King's birthday. And we were living in Las Vegas. I wasn't even in Arizona, but still. And it was in a newspaper, everything. And I've been that way like my whole life. But I don't know. I think I just came here to Spain and I saw that what the actual F, it's different. it's not all these things that I thought it was. You mean I can go stand in a crowd of people and not worry about getting shot? Or, obviously there's other things you have to worry about. But it was something that changed the way that I saw the world and what was actually out there. And to be honest, I have zero intention of going back. I mean, I'm trying to get a visa here in Spain, but if I don't get it, I have a plan to go to the UK, to Netherlands. I'm going somewhere, Germany. I'll be going somewhere else. But man, that's just unbelievable. This is a great, great video. I don't know how the hell I didn't even know this was out there, but man, this is a good video. So, hey, if you like this video and you want to see more reactions like this, if you like my crazy antics when I was getting a little hyped, I don't know. I can't help it. My wife she doesn't complain, but she thinks it's funny that I get all emotional because I'm like a Pisces. But I don't know. That's just how I do it. But if you like that, subscribe to the channel. It's super easy. Turn on your notifications. Do that too. All right. Thanks for joining me here today. My name's Greg. This is G. Lou. We will catch you on the next video. Peace.